So in that first year, so I hired a coach. I did all the things that, I started getting my speed, started getting some, light speaking engagements. But one of the things early on, somebody had asked me one day, can you coach me on what you're teaching? And that thought hadn't crossed my mind yet.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues, the podcast where we interview business owners on how they built their businesses and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is David Wynn, and I'm a business coach and the founder of Purple Circle, where we help business owners achieve their first 6-figure, 7-figure, and 8-figure year, all without sacrificing their quality of life. Before becoming a business coach and before founding Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7- and 8-figure coaching businesses and have been a consultant at several businesses doing over $100 million each, including some that are publicly listed and doing over $1 billion each. In every episode of the podcast, you're going to learn lessons that took our guests years to learn, and you'll be able to learn that in minutes. No matter if you're a new business owner or an established business owner, every episode is going to give you the clues in order to elevate your business.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Joe Novara, founder of Growth Academy Coaching, where he helps business owners break through growth plateaus with structure and accountability. Joe brings over 30 years of experience in sales, management, and business ownership, and holds certifications in strategic intervention and 6 human needs from Robbins Madanes training. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really exciting to be here.
Great to have you. From the day we met, I'm excited to record an episode with you. And I'm kind of a comic book nerd myself, right? So
Okay.
I love the origin stories, the first edition, So let's rewind a bit, because there is a moment that every coach has that where they look at their life and say, yeah, I guess this is what I'm doing now. Right, Joe? So when was that for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, so I wish that my story was quite as exciting as like Peter Parker's or Bruce Banner's, but it's not. But it is still, to some, it would be very exciting. Now, what I'll share is not to proselytize, okay? But I am a person of faith. And in saying that, I was in a place, I was closing my business. I had a printing company that I was shutting down. I was in the middle of a really bad divorce, and the business was unfortunately one of the, was a victim of that divorce. So I knew I was going to be shutting down the business, and I had been trying to think for about a year what it was that I wanted to do if I left the printing industry once and for all. And while I was sitting in the audience of a professional speaker on sales, it was literally like God flipped this light switch inside of my heart. And I'm not joking to you, Pedro. It was like all of a sudden I just became overwhelmed with, that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach people things about business. I'm going to teach them about networking. I'm going to teach them about sales. It was like all of a sudden this rush went through my head. And so initially, my initial commitment that day was to become a professional speaker. I went home, started doing the research on what it would take to be a professional speaker. I have a very good friend who is a professional speaker. I reached out to her, and we met for coffee, and she told me what the first thing I needed to do was write a book. So that day I went home and started writing my first book, which is called Intentional Networking. So in that first year, so I hired a coach. I did all the things that, I started getting my speed, started getting some, light speaking engagements. But one of the things early on, somebody had asked me one day, can you coach me on what you're teaching? And that thought hadn't crossed my mind yet. So this was probably, I'll say, about 2 to 3 months in. So my first speaking engagement was July 3rd of 2013. So we're going to say it was probably around the October, November time. And so I reached out to my coach and said to him, hey, somebody asked me if I would coach them on what I'm speaking on. Now, the program that I did, my signature talk at that time was also intentional networking. I don't remember exactly, but it was like 4 steps to a steady referral based business. And so we created a coaching program around those 4 steps. And what it was really, it was a 4 week program, which meant, what do you think? That I had to keep filling it over and over and over. But all that being said, that was my introduction to coaching. Brian at that time, who was my coach for a while, he helped me to develop that first coaching program.
Okay, interesting. Now, I'm curious about one thing that happens eventually to almost every coach. Is like you have that aha moment, right? You are sitting there, you're looking at that guy teaching people, like, I want to do that. And in the early days of coaching, sometimes we're like, I'm helping people. This sounds like a calling. You're advice giving. You're testing waters, right? Most coaches are. They're like, is this really a thing? But eventually, you launch a business and you realize, I'm building a real business around this, right?
Mm.
There's
Right.
revenue, there is, but it's almost like a shift that happens to every coach. And what I would love for you to tell me and our audience is like, when did it clicked for you, right? Was it like the first paying customer, the first invoice that you realize, okay, this is a real thing?
So yeah, that's a great question. So the first client I had was a woman named Sherry, and I'm not going to say much more beyond that. And at first, we went through our 4 sessions, okay. And at the end, at that point, I'd already been getting. Now I'm getting new other clients within very quickly, getting other clients. It was probably about a year though into it, Pedro, before I said to myself, "This is a real business. This is a real business, and I could definitely keep this going." I was at that time, I had sold my customer list from the printing company, and the commitment that I had with the company that I sold the customer list to was that for 3 years, well, it was the contract was a 3 year contract, but that I would help them over like a year or two, help them transition so that it was a smooth transition. So I was still technically had 2 feet in the printing industry, and a foot and a half in the coaching business, the speaking and coaching business. But when I realized that, hey, I'm making real money here doing this, and the runway is getting shorter for this contract I have, with the money coming in for the printing business. It was like, okay, this could be a real business, and I better take it seriously, like real seriously now, or go find something else, because I didn't want to get back. I wanted out in the printing industry. And yeah, so that was basically how that happened. I don't know if does that answer your question.
It does. I love that. Okay. Yeah, we have a saying here in Brazil: there is no half pregnant lady, right? It's either we're in or we're out, buddy. Like, and I love the fact that you draw a line in the sand and you're like, it's either make it or break it, right? So
Yeah.
let's go full gas on this. Now, let me ask you this. I mean, you've been a while in the game, right? We're talking about 13 years that
Mm-hmm.
you established your business, Growth Academy Coaching, and there's an evolution of who we in the early day start serving, like you mentioned Shirley and all that, and who you serve now, right? In
Yeah.
the early days, at least myself as a coach, I was trying to help everyone, right? Like, yeah, of course I
Yeah.
can help you, man. Just talk. But eventually, we sharpen the blade. We attract a certain type of people, and we even sometimes we realize who we can actually help,
Right.
right? The best. So, can you walk us through that evolution, right, of who you started serving and who you serve now?
Yeah. So when I first started, it was exactly what you just said. I would work with anybody that just was looking for what I could teach them. And the problem with that, it's just like, I joke around where I say, there's the Mary Kay representative. There's a difference. There's the Mary Kay representative who says anybody with skin, versus the Mary Kay representative who says anybody who wants to look beautiful and can afford the best products. And that's who I want to work with. Well, that was how I had to look at it from the coaching. Is it no longer had to be anybody who could afford the network coaching about networking. Then as we started to evolve it, we added more to the coaching. That's how the client base changed. So initially it was people that a lot of the folks that I started with, they couldn't afford, the same person, if they were here in front of me today, can't afford the coaching that I was they wouldn't be able to afford the coaching we do today. A lot of the folks that we were working with them. So now here we are, 12, 13 years later, the clients we're working with today are certainly at a higher level. The people that I'm working with today, they're already great networkers. They know how to develop, grow their business. They know how to talk to people, whether it's at a networking event or if when they're making cold calls, they know how to talk to somebody on the other end of the phone. That's not what they need. What are the people that I'm working with today are real business owners. These are people that are running CPA practices, law firms, construction companies, but the business owners, and they are in a whole different level than the people when I first started. But you know what, Pedro? I still love every single one of those people when I first started, because it taught me each step of the way, just taught me a little more and a little more how to be a better coach and how to be a better human being in some cases. Because some people, it doesn't matter where they are in the coaching journey on their end, and I'm sure you've experienced this many times, people bring their baggage with them. They bring their baggage with them. And so even if I'm just a business coach or a leadership coach or an executive coach, it doesn't matter. I still have to help navigate through some of that stuff that people are going through and how it's impacting their business and their stuff in their personal life. And I just can't be closed to that. I have to let my heart be open to that. And that has transcended my entire career in coaching. So I learned how to do that early on, and now I would say I'm far better today at it than I was 12 years ago. But I think if you talked to some of the folks I was working with back then, they would say that I was very caring about not just how are you going to learn how to network better, but who they were as people and how they could be better people and have a better life as well.
Okay. Now let's pretend, Joe, I'm one of those guys, right? I'm an established business owner. I'm spinning my wheels. I know my stuff, but I hit a ceiling, as it sounds like. I'm like, what's happening? I cannot hit the next level, right? And I'm your avatar, your ideal client profile. That could be a CPA or a law firm, whatever. Okay, business owner on that, construction you mentioned too. So first thing, how would I be able to find you and your business, marketing wise?
So there's a few ways. The fastest way to meet me is through networking. I do a lot of in-person networking. That's for the local market. Okay, so and that is how I get a lot of business, is through the in-person networking. Then there is speaking engagements. I get quite a number of clients through speaking engagements, and at the end of when I do speak, I always offer a complimentary coaching session, 30 minutes. Another thing is when I first started the business, I would say, a speaker wants to speak. So when I don't have speaking engagements, what I'll do is I'll just create my own events. And so right from the beginning of my career here, I started creating my own events. And so I've been doing my own events for almost 13 years now. And they used to be monthly, and then we went down to quarterly, and then three times a year. Right now, we're playing with just 2 times per year. But it's all that being said, I do my own events. Okay, and it's a 2-day workshop called Total Business Breakthrough. We do it in different spots around North Carolina. We've done it in Greensboro, Raleigh, Asheville. I don't know if you ever heard of Asheville. We've done it there a bunch of times. So and we're about to do it in a new area called Pittsburgh, which is it's an up and coming area, and we figure we're going to give it a shot there in January. So all of that, with saying all of that, Pedro, those are 3 ways. And then, of course, there's online, the digital side of it, whether it's through email marketing, social media, doing podcasts like this, just ways like the digital formats to get people to reach out to me and engage in coaching.
Very interesting, right? This is what I'm thinking right now. You mentioned that you work heavily in the in-person events, right? That you're a very in-person guy to network and all that. And these days, whenever someone sends me a text or a message, the first filter that pops in my head is like, is this a bot?
Right.
Right. And whenever you're in person, it sounds like we're skipping a filter right now, right? And people are more tuned in, and there is a trust factor that is different from talking online. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's AI, too much content out there, if it's the bots, if it's the scammers. But it's very interesting that you mentioned like you're heavily doing in person, and I love that. Okay. Especially retreats, right? We just came back from our retreat too. So it's so wild to think what I've been through. Like I'm 40 and went through in person, then digital, and now in person again. It's almost seems like a roller coaster. But still in the game of pretend here, Joe. Still your avatar. Okay. Let's say I met you in one of those events, or even listen to one of the podcasts you went, checked your website, right? And I'm like, hey, Joe seems like a cool guy, right? So I reached out to you and I'm like, hey, how does it look like to work with you? Right? So we go through the sales process. We can skip that a little, just say there's alignment. You can help me. I feel like you can help me.
Right.
Can you give me like a rundown, really quick briefing on how does it look like to work with you, right? And the outcomes I can expect.
Yeah. So what it's like to work with me, what we do, I'm going to just give you, this is after we've committed to engaging is what you're saying, correct? We've committed to engaging to work together. And so the first thing that we do is I like to do we call it a fast start day. And both myself and the other coach on my team, we both do this same thing. And the fast start day, it's the only thing in Growth Academy coaching that is templated. Okay, everything else is based on just using coaching skills. But it's a 4-hour coaching session where we go through it's a lot of questions, and the questions they're very thought provoking. And they're very, some of the questions can be very deep, and it's about just trying to get to know who this person is in front of us, why are they doing what they're doing, where are they trying to go in their life and their business, and what are they willing to do versus what are they not willing to do. Because I don't want to start wasting time going down a path that turns out this is not something that he or she is ever willing to go down. And so that's when you end up wasting 2, 3, 4 coaching sessions and finding out that they have no interest in doing that. They're too scared to do that. That's just not their thing. So I had to, that's why I created that session, was to cut through all of that garbage. Okay. And to really let this person get to know the coach, the person sitting in front of them, and trust them. And that's what that, so that's the initial session. And we call, and again, I call it the fast start day. And the tool that I use is called the clarity funnel. And part of that I learned from when I was doing the executive coach training on Robbins Madonna's training. When I was getting trained in that program, the the leader named Keith, he had had one of the people go through the clarity funnel, and I took a lot of, and I give them credit, that I took a lot of it from his clarity funnel and created my own. But I still call it a clarity funnel, and I give Keith the credit for it. So then after that, then we meet 2 times per month. Okay, it's 2 1-hour sessions, usually either virtual or over the phone. I prefer over the phone so I can get up and walk around if I need to and things like that. Some people prefer virtual. If you want to meet me live and in person, you have to come to me, to where I am. I am not going to drive to you. You have to come to, we'll meet in a coffee shop or something, but it's got to be within a mile or 2 from my home. The other thing that we do, and in that, I'm trying to get to really give you an understanding of our coaching here. The other thing that we do is we do a monthly mastermind where all the Growth Academy clients are welcome to come, whether they're in the group coaching or the one-on-one coaching. They're welcome to come, and it's 1 hour per month. The first Wednesday of the month, and it's an hour long. And we start with a topic that I talk about a topic with my partner, my other coach talks about a topic. He's not my partner, but he's on the team. And we talk about a topic and then go into how is this impacting people's business, their lives, and we talk about it. We have discussion about it. And that's really been really effective. And twice a year, so in June and December, we actually do almost a full day retreat. In lieu of the mastermind, we meet in person to do a retreat. And it's very similar, but it's a lot more detailed in what we're doing in that full day. So Pedro, you've worked with people before as a coach, and I can't make somebody do the work. There are people that hire us that they think it's going to be a done for you process. Mm-hmm. And so that was one that was hard on my heart when I first started coaching, and I struggled with it for a long time. When somebody would, especially once we started it initially was called goal execution coaching before we changed it to Growth Academy coaching. But it was hard on my heart when somebody would stop working with me because they weren't getting the results, but they weren't doing the work. And I have a lot of business experience. JP, who's on the team, he has a lot of business experience. The business ownership experience. There is a lot that we can share. There's a lot that we can do to help a business owner grow their business. We meet you where you're at. If you're looking to grow your team, we can help you grow your team. If you're looking to increase revenue, we can help you to increase revenue. If you're looking to expand the company, we can, whatever it is, we've all both got a lot of experience in that, and we can help with that. But you, as the client, have to be willing to do the work. And so that is one of the things, Pedro, and I don't know if we'll get to this at all. That's one of the things that as a coach, I need to be better up front on discerning that. Sometimes I am. Sometimes some people are really clear about it, but not all the time. And that's something I hope to get better as I continue coaching, hopefully for another 50 years, that I can be more discerning. This is somebody who's not going to do the work. versus this is somebody who's totally they're gonna kick ass and take names, that kind of thing. So that being said, it all depends on the individual and what they're going to get out of it. The getting the right information is not going to be an issue. Um, and the other part, an important part about what we do and what I'm very much, this is a big thing about Growth Academy coaching. We are very heavy on accountability. Very heavy on accountability. I personally I type almost all of my coaching sessions. I'm constantly typing during the session because I want to be able to go back and look at my notes over and over. Hey, we used 3 sessions ago, you committed that you were going to do this and you still haven't done it. What's going on with that? What do we need to adjust? But if I'm just going by like just trying to do it by memory, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, at least not for me. I can only speak for myself. But the accountability part is really, really strong. That going back and I'll give you a funny example. So I had a client, his name is Sean, and so Sean and I were working together several years ago, and he said he wanted to take a break, and I don't remember the specific details, okay, but I can just share with you what happened. So it's 3 years between coaching sessions. He hires me again. 3 years. I looked back at his notes that, I had been looking at his notes knowing that we were going to be starting to work together again. And I just wanted to I expected that 3 years later that we were going to be that he was going to be in a whole different place. Pedro, we picked up 3 years later where we left off 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. There had been no growth. No growth. So it just depends on the individual, if they're, and who they are.
Yeah. Something you mentioned that I think is really interesting is how to pick up on a potential client that is not coachable. I would say that's the word, right? When they don't want to put in the work, they're not coachable.
Right.
And 2 things pop up to my mind. The first thing is clarity on saying what you are and what you are not, right? Making it very clear on first point of contact that you're not doing the work. That's one thing. The second thing that pops up to my mind is and this is more of a nuanced thing that I got eventually, was picking up on distant language. Like, the team is underperforming. They are not delivering. Right. You're the leader, buddy. What's up with that? Why do you think they're not delivering? Oh, because they're lazy, because nobody wants to work. That's the wrong answer. The right answer is like, you know what? I am unsure. I don't have all the answers. That's a good one. The second is, at least in my experience, right, is thinking like, I'm not being able to inspire them, and I don't know why. I'm spinning my wheels. I have like another one that I don't love is like whenever I'm at the place, the work site or whatever, the performance is higher. Whenever I'm not, it tends to be lower. Why do you think that is? So it's always trying to peel off the onion so it can go back to the root cause, which sometimes is they're like control freaks, right? Nobody's else work is good enough. Sometimes they feel like employees don't love the business as much as they do. Well, newsflash, they don't. It's your business. I mean, it's so basic whenever I'm thinking about it, but people they get offended. Like, they're like, oh my God, they don't love the work and all that. Yeah, man. It's like they hit Friday and that's sayonara, buddy. They're not even thinking about you. You're spinning your wheels on the Sunday and the Saturday. They don't care. They're thinking about the party. They're thinking about whatever. Their kids, their family. So sometimes it's just stating the obvious, but it is what it is. Not saying that's easy to manage, not at all. Now, I'm curious about, and shifting gears for a second, I'm curious about future, right? So where do you see the business going? Where are you taking all this? Looking ahead, what's to expect next? What are you excited about?
Yeah, well, so thank you for asking that. It's a great question. And I really would love to. What we're doing right now is we're working on growing the business, scaling the business. We'd love to. we're trying to follow the Benjamin Hardy model in the book, The Science of Scaling, which is 10xing your business. And so we're following that model that he lays out in the book. And we're not going to hire him at this time, at least. We're not going to hire him to come on our, to be our coach or coaches at this point. But we're very intentional about following what we've read in that book, and we've gone through the book multiple times. We're anything we can get our hands on that he's putting out, we're following that. He and it's a really great model for 10xing a business. Now, Pedro, if I 5x the business, I'll be happy with that. But I want to try and shoot for the 10x. That's what we're going to work on, is 10xing it. So all that being said, the goal here, and this is really my goal in my heart, is to help as many business owners as we possibly can to just be better. That's really what, and whatever better is, you define better for yourself. But at the end of the day, what is better for you? And that's what we want to help you to do. And again, it goes back to the fact that we have the skills, we have the experience, we have, I feel very confident that those are things that we can help. I had a coach once, and he was first started out as a mentor, then he became a coach, and then he became a mentor again, and he passed away a few years ago. And when I had asked him to be my mentor, I took him to this, it was called the Leadership Summit. And I had taken him, and he had already been retired from corporate America. He owned a Fortune 100 consulting firm. And he had retired, sold it, and all of that. And when he was sitting in the audience, during this Leadership Summit, they said, what is your big, hairy, audacious goal? And so he said he wanted, based on our relationship now, here's a guy who's in his mid to late 60s already, said to himself, I want to help 10,000 small businesses and that was his goal. Okay. So here he is, he's already an older man. I'm not saying he's an old man, but he was older, making that commitment. So he died a couple of years ago, and honestly, Pedro, I feel like I'm still helping him to fulfill that mission. I'm helping him with that. And he was a wonderful man named Earl Haddon, one of my heroes in life. And so I hope that I can help him fulfill that goal, to be able to touch and help 10,000 small businesses. And I'm on my way. I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way.
Okay. And whenever we're working towards something like your goal, right, to help 10,000 small business owners, there's always something that we're refining in the present, right? So what are you currently trying to improve in your business or tighten up right now?
Yeah, well, so I'm always trying to be better at being a better coach, being a better person, I'm always looking for new opportunities. Like, I think I just recently joined another full year program through Tony Robbins in a business. It's called Business Accelerator, and so it was just something I committed to. It's a full year program, and it wasn't terribly expensive, but it's a commitment. And so that's something, just to be a better business owner and to be better at my business so that I can help my clients to be better in their businesses. What am I missing? What am I not seeing? So that I can just learn new things. That's one thing. Another thing is that I'm committed to my physical fitness. Somebody said to me once when I was speaking, this was probably about 12 years ago, and I remember his name, and do not hold him in high esteem, but he still said something that I needed to hear, because I was going through the divorce and, was eating my way through the divorce. And he said, Joe, you're a really good speaker, but man, you need to lose weight. And so I won't say the words that came to mind at that time, but I took that to heart, and from that day on, I've tried to take really good care of myself. And I have to tell you, Pedro, that also, you can see that in when I'm taking better care of myself physically, it shows in how I perform. When I'm not, which is not very often, but when I'm not, it shows in how I perform. And I want to be that example for my clients, that I take care of myself so that they take care of themselves. I can't tell them to go out when the poop's hitting the fan. I can't tell them to go out for a walk to change their physiology if I'm sitting on the couch all the time eating potato chips while I'm in my coaching sessions. So I have to be that example. So that's another area that I'm always working on myself. But part of that, not just because I want to live to over 100 years old, but also because I want to be a better business owner. And I really feel strongly that the best business owners always take care of themselves physically. I mean, it's become very clear to me. To me. Um, I don't know where else to go with this to answer that. I feel like I went on a little bit of a tangent there.
I asked about challenges in the business, and you're like, I want to lose weight, and I'm like, keep losing weight. I'm like, okay.
No, okay,
But I
thank you.
get it.
But that was so the challenge in the business. Yeah. So coming back to that part, you were asking me where do I want to go with the business, but the challenge in the business, I'm going to be very honest with you, Pedro, is I've owned a nice size printing company. I've run other people's printing companies. I was a real estate broker in New York City for a period of time. The thing that I would say that I struggle with the most still is employees or having team members. Nobody is ever going to do it as well as I do it. They're not going to do it exactly the way I want them to do it, and they're not going to do it up to the standards that I have, and so I struggle with that internally, and I'm very honest about it. It's something that I'm working on, and I feel that I'm not going to really break through to that next level until I break through that mindset. And I'm aware of it. I'm working on it, but it's still there.
Okay. Love the honesty. Now, let's step into sci-fi territory here for a second. Let's pretend we have a time machine in front of us, Joe. Okay.
Okay.
You can go back in time when you opened shop, right? We're talking about founded in 2013 in your
Yeah.
business, a growth academy coaching that had a different name back then. But you can go back in time and can give yourself one piece of business advice you wish you knew back then that you know now, right? Why would that be?
It would be to not be to not just focus on the network coaching, because had a lot of experience already at that point, and there was a lot that I could be working with people on right out the gate, and I was limiting myself, and it took a long time to get people to see me differently because I had just become known as the networking guy, and I had to work really hard to break free from that. Once I started, when I created the program Goal Execution Coaching, I had to break free from that because it was difficult. I was that's all people, they knew me as two things, either the networking guy or the Joe the printer, from when I owned my printing company.
Okay. You know, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, where can people find you and connect with you? And by the way, Joe, we're going to have all the links in the description, but what's the
Okay.
best way for people to do so?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to just follow, check me out, they can go to my website, which is growthacademycoaching.com. If anybody would be interested in learning more about the signature 2-day event, that's totalbusinessbreakthrough.com. But in growthacademycoaching.com, you can easily schedule a complimentary coaching call it'll be with either me or JP, and you get an opportunity to just see who I am, and I'd love to get to meet who some of these people are. Is really the truth.
Okay. Certain golden nuggets I need to highlight from our conversation today. Okay. So let's start with the origin story. Your business was a victim of a divorce, a bad divorce, right? And then you had to pivot. And
Yes,
then
sir.
we were talking about that guy giving that speech, right? And teaching people on the sales and management and all that, and how that sparked your inner self to do something different with your life, and coaching stepped in, right? You mentioned something that it was really interesting, that your story was not as interesting as a superhero story. Now I beg me to differ. Okay, please I beg to differ. And the reason I do so, it's because I think superheroes are there to inspire people, turning the impossible possible. And that guy did that, right? He inspired you in a way to start this journey. So there's that. Okay. Then the Mary Kay example. I love that example. It's almost like, I love when we're talking shop, talking business, and about the positioning bit. Like, you compared anyone with skin versus anyone who wants to be more beautiful and afford the best products. So people self-select themselves before even talking with them. They
Mm-hmm.
understand they have some standards, and it's not going to be the cheapest product. So we're avoiding already a conversation of, oh, your rates are too high, So yeah,
Right.
they are for a reason, right? It's
Yeah.
about the transformation. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
not here to talk about my value. This is not going to happen in this conversation. So I love
Right.
that. Other thing that I really thought it was pretty cool was the drive, right? You want to help as many business owners to just be better. At the end of the day, so simple, but so impactful too, because shout out to Earl here, right? In his 60 plus, and his making the commitment at that time to help 10,000 business owners. So
Mm-hmm.
here's the kicker, right? Earl made it because he created the ripple effect, the legacy that lives in you in a way,
Yes.
right? And I think whenever people hit a certain age, they're will be tackled with wisdom, so they understand it's not about them, it's about the entire world they live in, and how they can impact more people, and how they can be valuable, and kudos to Earl. So he realized that and helped you,
Thank
pick it
you.
up on the torch. Now, this is just my long-winded way of saying that I appreciate what you do, and I
Thank you.
appreciate you being here and sharing so openly today. Joe, it was great having you on.
Thank you, my friend. I really so enjoyed this.
That's it for this episode. This episode, as well as this podcast, was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help business owners elevate their business to 6, 7, and 8-figure years, all without burning out. If you're looking to grow your business, as well as get the time freedom that you are looking for, visit us at joinpurplecircle.com and see what we can do to help you and your business.